Assalamu alaikum. I would be talking about S3 lifecycle. So why do we even require this? Now consider this. For example, whenever you have certain data and there's a specific workload associated with that data, then this workload is usually time bound with the data, and after a certain amount of time is over, once our workload is complete, then we would of course need a fresh batch of data to work on. So in this case, what would we, of course, we would not want to have the older data to be saved in an expensive tier, or in an or to we as we do not really need that older data. We need to either delete the data or put it away in an archive. So what we can do? So we can enable lifecycle versioning. So what happens? So sorry, we can enable lifecycle. So what exactly is this used for? S3 lifecycles are essentially used for cost saving. So for example, we can configure, and of course automating the process data which I've mentioned. Now, for instance, we can configure a policy to manage, our objects, and then store them cost efficiently throughout their life cycle. We can transition these our objects to other S3 classes, other tiers, etc., or we can expire them at the end of their defined life cycle. Now, there are two type of actions that we can perform with our life cycles. One is transition, and the other is expiration. As I said, we can either transition our our objects from a one storage class to another storage class. For example, we can transition our objects from standard S3 standard to S3 standard IA. Infrequent. We can, for example, this is for the data that is frequently accessed, and this would be for the data that is infrequently accessed. And then, for example, if our data is not even infrequently accessed, we can send it to some glacier system, or to a deep archive where we can only access where we can access. But this is for the case when the data is accessed maybe once a year, etc. So we can transition them seamlessly from one tier to another tier. And also, for example, if we do not want the data after end of the month, or at the end of the year, so we can put this for deletion or for expiration. So now we can create this policy simply by going into the management console, and we can create our own custom lifecycle rules. For example, let's say I will call my rule. Maybe I should call my rule uh, temp underscore li. Yeah, temporary life. How's that? Okay, so I can apply this to all the objects inside the bucket. Yes, I acknowledge this. Now we have a number of options over here. Starting off with moving current versions of the objects between storage classes, as I mentioned before. We can after a certain amount of time, for example, maybe let's say the minimum duration over here is, I guess, 30 days, or maybe it was 90 days. I'm not exactly sure about that. I think I've forgotten that. Let me see. Yes, it was for Windows I minimum storage duration, and for standard IA is 30 days, and for the standard there is none. So let's say I'm moving from it to standard IA to after maybe like, you know 10 days. Sorry, 10 days. Well, no, yeah, let's make it 30. Then I can add another transition to maybe one zone IA, or perhaps I can add it to the Glacier Deep archive. Let's go with one zone IA. I can make this 30 days as well, and then after these 30 days are over, I can. Okay, let's not move. Okay, yeah, maybe let's move them the Glacier Deep archive after maybe 300 days. So we can create our own custom policy. So what would happen in this case, that we would be moving our current versions of the objects after we were transitioning our current versions of my objects from standard IA. After 30 days, it would transition to one zone IA, and then after 30 days, it would transition to the Glacier Deep archive, where it will stay there for 300 days. I can also move my non-current versions of my objects between these classes, between these storage classes, and then I can, if I additionally, maybe expire my current versions after maybe 30 days. For example, after an object is created, I can expire it after 100 days, I would not require it after 100 days. It all depends on the use case that we have. I can also permanently delete the older versions of my objects, etc. Or yes, this is an important part, that I can also delete my objects that are delete markers or incomplete multi-part uploads. For example, if a multi-part upload has been initiated and it is not complete within say 10 days or so, then I should essentially delete that data that is stored, because that is useless data that is stored over there. And I can also delete object markers because they clutter up space and are not essentially required, etc. So let's make a little policy: move current objects between storage classes. So maybe I will move to standard IE after 30 days. This transition but from standard SC standard to standard IE, and then create rule. This is as simple as this. So I have this enabled, and then I can maybe upload something over here. Let's go to download, and after 30 days, my this file, this object would be moved to S3 standard IE. All right. So I think this is enough for the demo. See you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum.